Hey, it's Natasha.
And Khalil.
We are the co-hosts of
WokeNFree.
Thank you for tuning in to our 94th episode of WokeNFree. If you've been tuning in every week for WokeNFree Wednesday, you know that WokeNFree is all about being real and honest with each other and you. We talk about everything and anything important to us, you, the world, and nothing is off the table. This week, we are talking all about why people are obsessed with sports. Yes, we are coming for you sports fans, but we hope that you will be entertained and not offended, but we'll see what happens. But before we get there, we have a couple of questions to go over. First, have you subscribed to WokeNFree on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, or even via email? If not, please go to WokeNFree.com and you can subscribe away. Next, have you shared an episode with friends and family? Guys, the way for content to get out in this world is for us to do that share button thing, right? For us to email and share and talk about things. So please share this episode. We greatly appreciate your support and your love for the show. Next, have you hollered at us on social media? So if you're interested in sharing breaking news, or you have an episode idea, or if you're like, girl or guy, did y'all see this on social media? Please feel free to reach out to us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or even YouTube at WokeNFree. And then lastly, have you reviewed a show? You can review the show on iTunes, on Stitcher, on Google Play, on SoundCloud, or any of the other platforms you see at WokeNFree.com.
Each week, we like to share a little bit about us before we dive into the topic for the episode. Last week, we shared which type of cookie is your favorite cookie. This week, we're sharing it's healthy snack time. What do you choose?
So because y'all know I love sugar, no surprise there. For me, I would probably say fruit because at least it's a natural way to get nature's sugar. But how about you?
My choice is a fruit and it's banana.
Ugh, gross.
Because you love them too much.
Gross.
So
Stinky, binky.
No, you like them too. That's what's funny.
Yeah, you don't want to say why you eat bananas.
Doesn't make sense. There's no whys. Because it's a healthy snack, yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
All right. Enough of that out of you. We're just going to jump into the episode now. Why are people obsessed with sports?
It is the question, I feel like, of every year that I ask myself. And so I'm super glad that we're bringing it to the WokeNFree family to discuss. I found some interesting information, actually, that's science-driven on Vox. And you guys can find all of the links for this episode at WokeNFree.com. So particularly when it comes to why people love and can't get enough of sports, it really comes down to hormones that are released while watching sports. And according to this Vox article, among other things, they've learned that watching your team win leads testosterone levels in your brain to rise, likely fueling feelings of aggression, much as it does in other animal species during bouts of competition. While other research has highlighted the role of mirror neurons, specialized brain cells that seem to activate whether you carry out an action, say shooting a basketball, or merely watching another person do it. This may be what allows us to live vicariously through an athlete while we're watching them on TV. So essentially, I think it's an engaging way to connect with each other as we watch our icons in various sports industries win or succeed or conquer.
Yeah, and I found some similar information on Sports Networker where they talk about some of the same things. They brought up the testosterone levels actually increase about 20% in fans of winning teams, and they decrease about 20% in fans of losing teams. And they also mentioned that it's an escape for people's normal daily lives, as well as their social inhibitions, and it allows people to express themselves freely by cheering for their team and then lash out at rival fans. And there's also a video that we're going to include in the episode that shows you this really crazy fan that's kind of infamous on YouTube. I don't think you've seen it yet, but it's really funny. So
I'll have to check it out at WokeNFree.com. Nice,
you got to see that one.
Okay.
And like you were saying, sports events are definitely social gatherings where there's even supplementary events to those social gatherings where experience are often more important than the actual game. Like people have their own little parties, just kind of surrounding the game.
Pre-game.
Yeah. So stuff like that. And let's go back to the beginning, though. The word fan itself actually originates from the modern Latin word fanaticus, meaning as much as insanely but divinely inspired.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And why are sports generally then so important, in addition to some of the science that we've already talked about?
Well, according to Psychology Today, sports fans hold on to the passion for their team no matter what. And there's two patterns of reaction that sport fans actually have. The first one they went into was called basking in reflected glory. And research shows that on the day after teams win, people feel better about themselves. Even though they didn't actually win.
That's intense.
It affects the people themselves. And they said the other pattern is the cutoff reflected failure, which non-diehard fans will say they lost, but they'll never say we lost. And I also saw on Sports Networker that they mentioned cognitive bias as a reason for sports fans being the way they are. And this is the phenomenon where all of us not only look for what confirms our intuitions and ignore what contradicts our intuitions. And that's what psychologists call confirmation bias. And confirmation bias helps explain why some fans they'll actually boo at every single referee call against their team, not caring why the referee made the call. And also I found from Professor Rick Gree from Western Kentucky University, he said that group identities can become especially intense in the crucible of a big sporting event when your entire group is charged with the same high levels of adrenaline, when tens of thousands of people are chanting, "We're number one," wearing team apparel. Our group identity is strong and we want to fit in. So I think sports are important to society because it makes people like want to fit in and be a part of something greater. I think that's what I was seeing from things that I found.
Interesting. So there's kind of this sense of unity as well as camaraderie, as well as just like erratic emotional behavior.
Yeah.
But it's interesting.
As long as things are going well.
Yes, as long as they're going well.
It's all about we, big team.
But I mean, I guess is that good for society? I think human beings nowadays seem so disjunctive in nature. So the idea that there is something that we can all come, like a common ground that brings us together, that makes us say, we can do this, we can win, we can enjoy. Similar, just shout out to the Raptors for recently winning, right? And that was the first win, right, for the team?
The first championship.
Yeah. So, I think I don't necessarily, I don't know if it's a blanket yes, because I think, you can go into the science of some of the physiological and emotional and spiritual issues that happen with sports players, and how tough and challenging it physically can be to be a professional athlete. But overall, from the societal perspective, it seems like it would be good. I also found some information on Psychology Today. Y'all know I can be long-winded, so let me say what we'll specifically talk about. Let's see. So there was some information, and again, all links can be found at WokeNFree.com, that there's this kind of information regarding like the rules. Without rules, there's no meaningful game. That's why football, for instance, is filled with procedure. While a coach is permitted to occasionally challenge a call, the referees have an organized way to review these challenges. Once a decision is made, it's over. The past season, San Francisco, I guess they're talking specifically about one game, was unhappy about an early whistle, but that's old news. There's no more appeal. Referees do the best that they can do. So there's some kind of, I guess, definitiveness that come with when a referee makes a decision, and it's just, or the umpire, whatever the rule decider is of the game. And sometimes people will go for it, or like you're saying, if they go against their favorite team, they're just going to boo.
Yeah,
no
time.
Matter what.
Yeah.
But as the rule lover in me is excited actually about that, because I think as long as the calls are good and fair and not biased, then there's that. Also, the article points to the idea that there's kind of magic of men competing at the highest level. So, and when I've met other athletes, they've told me this idea that like they get so much adrenaline from just participating in something that forces them to push their body in a new way. So,
but that's talking about the athletes themselves, then, right? That's not actually talking about the fans who just watch it.
But again, though, they get these mirror neurons that are exciting, so they're stimulated. So it's as if they are doing it themselves. But yes, like there's a difference of feeling from being an athlete versus watching an athlete.
Yeah.
But yeah, but overall, your decision, what would you say? Is it a yay or nay? Is it good for society?
Yeah, I think it definitely is. I mean, what would people do without sports? I mean, that's the thing. These same people, they might not. It's kind of like sports becomes their number one hobby. Like the fanatics I'm talking about, and even people that aren't fanatics and just kind of love sports. That's something that they do in their downtime. They're not doing other things, so I think it gives them almost a sense of purpose.
They could
it could
play
be
with animals or something.
Yeah, it could be replaced, but for now, I think it's like a thing that it's like an easy go-to because it kind of doesn't require like too much on the fans' part, right? You just switch, you just turn it on, you look at
There's an expense though if you go to the games.
You can,
person and
but you could
like
just
that.
watch it on TV and you can just watch it on the internet, stuff like that. You can watch YouTube highlight clips. You can do things of that nature. So, I mean, it could be a cheap hobby. It doesn't have to be an expensive hobby. You decide how much it costs.
True, I guess you decide
it's
how
one
much
of those
you
type of
invest in
hobbies.
it.
Yeah, you don't have to actually go all in. You don't have to own like the equipment or anything, or you don't have to own fan like logo
Paraphernalia,
and apparel. You don't need all that. You can if you're like you're a true
hardcore,
fan. But I don't think you need all that stuff actually. So
Okay.
I don't think it's the worst for society. I mean, I think yes, it is taking away from other stuff you can do. Like you could work on other things. There's entrepreneurship type of things you can work on, and sometimes sports is a big distractor. It can take up all your time if you want to. So I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing for society. Is it needed for society? That would be a bigger question. I think
that's a subjective question anyway, because it's like for us who are clearly not hardcore sports fanatics. I think would say not for us, but I could see the value for other people. There's some people in my life where that's all that they engage in. That's all that they tune into. So without it, literally, they would have nothing. So that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, kind of, I mean, on a similar line, if we didn't have sports, how would society be different?
So there's this article I found on bleakerreport.com, which is definitely written by someone who's a fanatic or deeply loves sports. And the author goes into saying, there certainly would be no ESPN. There'd be no World Series to look into. He says, I could not imagine not watching my Kansas City Chiefs somewhere on Sundays. He goes into saying some of the greatest structures in America sports are the stadiums, iconic venues like Wrigley Field, the old Polo Grounds, Fenway Park, Lambeau Field, and the house that Ruth built would never existed in the absence of sports. He says, from a global standpoint, there'd be no Olympic Games. And he argues Jim Thorpe was arguably the greatest Olympian athlete in history. Could not address that statement. Don't even know who that person is.
You're listening to WokeNFree. WokeNFree?
WokeNFree.
WokeNFree.
WokeNFree!
A podcast about being real and honest.
The author goes on to saying many of us rely on sports to get us through the daily grinds of life. It gives us an escape that often allows us to fantasize and dream about the so-called impossible. So, aka if they were Derek Jeter, or if they were Muhammad Ali, or if they were, Serena Williams or Venus Williams, right? And he even goes on to say in moments of turmoil, like 9/11 terrorist attacks, baseball gave the country the temporary diversion needed to begin to move on. Didn't hear about that, but I could totally ask the sports fanatics in my family and friends if that is a true statement for them as well. From a communication standpoint, sport is embedded in everyday vernacular. So for those who date our friends want to know if you scored or hit a home run or not. So kind of that language that we use would go away if we didn't have sports. And he goes on and on and on, obviously not being a fan of the idea that sports should and or will ever go away. But I think ultimately, could sports be replaced? That I think I'd probably agree with this author that probably not. I think it's so momentous and so ingrained in how human beings behave and interact with each other and what we consume that I don't necessarily even know if I could envision something replacing it. But again, y'all know I am a believer that anything is possible. So is it possible? Absolutely. Is it realistic that we could live a society without it? Probably not.
But do you think of a spelling bee as a sport or no? Kind of like where people compete.
That's like such a nerd question. I love that.
It's a great question because guess what? Because video games are now, they started a whole esports league, so video games are being considered a sport.
But that'd be
People
so
are
weird,
just
right?
competing.
To have video games based on something that didn't really exist in reality.
Video games aren't, but they are. I mean, they have that already. I mean,
know,
that's
but-
what the first-person shooter's about. Halo's not real. There's no
Thanks for the
soldier.
clarification, Khalil.
There's no soldier running around blasting aliens and then blasting people that look exactly like him.
I mean,
Like
I don't
him.
know where you live, but around where my parts they are. But you know, I
See?
guess. But would we?
That's what I'm
would
saying,
we
'cause
envision baseball
I think-
as an e game?
But I'm
when
thinking-
if we didn't have baseball in reality.
I'm just
though?
thinking the idea of there's some point people want to watch other people compete. I think that is a thing. It's almost like
Well, I guess that's why we have that sports game in Harry Potter, right? Like people just love sports.
But people like the idea of watching other people like achieve something. And it could be, I mean,
That's true.
I think sports is one way, it's a physical thing, but there's other things people watch, like, I guess fly fishing, is that a sport? It's something like that. People watch that, but you're saying that, but guess what? Golf is a sport too, so.
Absolutely,
And
it
fly
is.
fishing, you're using a lot of the same muscles. You gotta throw your.
What's your answer to the question?
So just think about it. I mean, I think sports can be. I think people like to watch people compete. Is the thing. Even if you got rid of physical sports,
Yeah.
other things would pop up and be the replacement. And those,
Okay.
instead of athletes, you just have the competitors that people would idolize. They'd be like, this person really knew how to spell. That's like so cool.
Such an
Or they
ass.
always knew how to. They knew how to run the same play, and they knew how to beat the computer at chess. They were really good at memorizing all the techniques.
I can't with you. Okay.
So
Fair enough.
that's what I mean. It's an interesting thing to say, world without sports, but I just think people like that whole fan idea is you're gonna have fans of people competing. I think that's it. It's sort of like it's part of human nature, it seems, and it's how you get the adrenaline.
So one
rush.
would say muscle building is a sport as well.
Bodybuilding,
Or
yeah, because
bodybuilding.
anything where you can compete with somebody, I think we can get rid of. So I
Showing
know
my ass cheeks.
what you smart. When you think of sports, you probably think of just things that involve balls.
Oh.
That's what you think. It's got to have a ball.
What are you implying?
That's the only thing you think of when you think of
What
sport.
are you insinuating?
Because do you even think of surfing? That's a sport too.
Absolutely.
See?
Because you can die from it. Anything you can die
You
from
can compete.
constitutes as a sport.
A sport is anything you could compete in. That's really what it comes
Yes.
down to. So, and you can technically compete in anything. So it's going to be interesting in the future what's classified as a sport or not.
Gotcha.
Here we go, yo. Here we go, yo. So what's the scenario? It's scenario time, guys. Scenario 1. Angela is flying to all 9 cities to see the FIFA Women's World Cup. She is only staying 1 day because she doesn't want to spend extra on the hostels. Is Angela being reasonable, or should she not go to each match because it is fiscally irresponsible?
I mean, the fact that she has to stay at a hostel, to me, implies that maybe she can't, like, why can't you just stay at a regular hotel? No shade to hostels.
Because there's a lot of hostels in France.
True, but
That's
there
where
also
it's taking
are
place.
hotels, but
Maybe. I don't know
I
enough
mean, it
about
depends.
France.
If Angela is financially financially well off, and she can afford to fly to all cities, inclusive of her work schedule or her life commitments, then have at it. Most people don't have that luxury, and so I would say press pause on that idea and maybe go to one or the finale, not all. But if she got it like that, then she can totally do it. But like I said, I have a sneaky suspicion that she's staying at hostels and can't afford it, and she might end up missing. So, your thoughts?
I think it's irresponsible either way, because she could take that money and she could put it into an investment fund or something.
She could. She could also donate to charities that she loves, and
Or she could buy a bigger TV and just watch the games on her TV.
smart.
Get it in 4K, right? That's all
True.
she could do. Why is she spending all this money to see it in person?
I mean, unless
She could
that's
see one.
unless that's her life ambition, and she's dying, and
Just
this
see the
is her
finale or
last
something. Don't watch all of them.
kabam. True.
Why you got to see all of them? I think the biggest thing is the finale, or your team that you really want to see.
True.
We're not sure where she's from, so depending on that, she can decide which matches to go to. Just go to see her home team, or whichever team she's really the fan of. But, I don't think she should go to everything.
True.
Scenario 2. Kelly has been a longtime fan of a Canadian NBA team that has never won a championship. They recently won, sending Kelly into a happy fit where everyone she meets, she tells them, We are the champions. Should Kelly cool down a bit, or is she right in showing her team spirit?
Maybe not, since that's how she sounds.
Hey, that's not fair.
Work on your pitch, love.
Okay, you're saying that to Kelly. Nice.
Yeah, catching her lovely, right?
Yeah, that's great.
Fool.
That's how she sounds. So I don't know.
I think at the end of the day, being happy for your team. We talked about the science that goes into wanting how people get like physiologically affected by watching teams that they love and when they succeed. So, I think it's cute. She's excited. If she does it like 6 months after the game, people are probably going to be like, chill out. But at the end of the day, you have to live for you, and if that makes her happy, if that gets her goose, then go ahead. I mean, if she gets pushback from it, she has to deal with it because she's going out of her way to be an overly excitable fan. But, if that's how she has to live her life, if that's how she has to wake up and, take it with her side of coffee, then go have at it.
Yeah, it's all about the time. She can't do this for the rest of her life. That's the thing.
Even when they lose, right? We are the champions.
She can't do that to everybody she meets.
Funny.
You're gonna start to annoy people because they're not the champion. So they're gonna start questioning your sanity at that point, right? So it's all about the timing. I would say, to me, she only could do it for a week, but I know sports fans, they like to revel in their glory for like a month. So the month is the max, but after that, she just has to stop.
Get it together, yeah.
She has to stop.
Gotcha.
Scenario 3. Shannon screams touchdown when her friends are watching basketball and slam dunk when watching football. Is there something wrong with Shannon, or is she just not a sports maniac?
Oh, okay. Like, I see. Like something I would do. Yeah. Oh, smart.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you say 4 while watching people swim?
Absolutely not.
You just call that out.
Absolutely not. You're
hole in one.
You're telling tales. You
haven't done that ever?
This is WokeNFree. Keep it real.
You didn't do that when watching the Olympics?
Absolutely
Hole in one. That's what you said to us. You didn't know what was happening.
You wish. Listen, I mean, people are so judgmental, right? And I think at the end of the day, if she's not using the proper vernacular, her friends, if they want to educate her, just like FYI, not like, as long as they're not being rude and nasty about it, and they're just like, just to let you know, these are the terms that go with basketball, these are the terms that go with football. And if she understands and has consented to the conversation and gets it and then continues to do her thing, then obviously she just enjoys speaking out of turn with the type of language she's using. And again, life is too short to be out here being so dang uptight about what you say when you're excited. So if she says hole in one while watching fish and fly fishing.
Smart.
People might give her a weird look or 2 or 3. But at the end,
if she says home run while watching tennis?
Exactly.
Oh, God. Are people going to say stuff to her?
But I mean, you have to live for you. You can't be so concerned about because people will judge you and scrutinize you for anything. So yeah, I'm not too mad at Shannon, right? Like live your dream, baby. Like do your thing, man. I actually would think it's funny if the scenario was like her friends told her the right language and she still went on to use the wrong one on purpose.
What if it's not even on purpose though? Literally, she just can't get it right.
Poor short-term memory or something.
Yeah, like sports just throw her for a loop. She just really can't tell what's going on.
It is what it is. Life is hard.
Possible.
I mean, live your life. What do you think?
I think. I just think she's not a sports maniac, but it might be possible for her not to know the correct terms just because she doesn't follow the sports that well. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's anything wrong with her per se, but if her friends did tell her and she still says it, then there is something wrong with her because that's pretty funny that you just have some kind of block that you can't say the right terms. Or that you don't give a damn and you're just going to say what you want. Because that'd be funny too. If
I just don't give a damn.
Yeah, I'm just going to say what I want. Even if it doesn't apply.
Well, there are some people that I have met who are like, I'm sorry, what's your name again? What's your name again? And they've met me like 5 or 6 times. And I'm just like, okay, I got your bill. Because
your name is complicated, maybe.
Uh-huh.
That's the only excuse they can give. But even that, they should have a semblance of what your name is.
Yeah, it's be like, hello, Amy. Be like, it's not even starting with N. At least
Yeah, that's
Nicole or
crazy.
Nikki or, you know,
I know,
Natalie,
get close
something.
to it at least, yeah.
But it is what it is. We are at that time again. It is coming of the end of our 94th episode of WokeNFree. Thank you guys for tuning in. This has been a really interesting and funny way of talking about sports fanatics as well as why people are obsessed with sports. So if you want even more information, definitely check out the links at WokeNFree.com. Check out the video. I too will be going on and checking out this fanatic video that you're saying is viral that we need to check out. So we all have got more checking out to do. But will I leave you hanging for what our next episode will be about? Drum roll, please.
On our next episode, we will be discussing, can you move from New York to Arizona in less than 5 days? Make sure you follow us on social media to follow along in the conversation. Make sure you tune in next week for WokeNFree Wednesday to join the conversation at WokeNFree.com.
If you'd like to be a guest on the show, please submit a topic for an upcoming episode or share how you feel on our Contact Us page at WokeNFree.com. That is WokenFree.com. Again, I can't say it enough. If you ever have something pressing and you are on social media, you can always feel free to hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at WokeNFree. And then if you're interested in sponsoring an upcoming episode, please find us on our Contact Us page at WokenFree.com. We do all sorts of different sponsorship opportunities and endorsements, so feel free to hit us up, guys.
If you didn't already subscribe, please do. Share the episode and make sure you come back to join the conversation every Wednesday for WokeNFree Wednesdays. Remember, WokeNFree is more than a podcast, it is a way of life. Until next time.
Hole in one.